สวัสดีครับ
Sawadee ka, Kun Nopadong. To
สวัส
see
ดี
you.
ครับ
Well, it's getting brighter and brighter here.
You may have noticed I had another person sitting with me on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Did you know who it was?
No, couldn't see. Appeared.
Jita Parla.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
I wondered if it was actually. Yeah.
And he was listening to the discussion.
He was, but there were a few comments in the background that I kept saying to him, do you want to say something? Do you want to make a
Yes.
comment? No.
Right.
But
And
he was making a few comments that I just let go.
And how about after the discussion? Did you have any further discussion with him?
Well, it was interesting because his main thing was, and probably a few people think this, that when he heard that there can be a Gusala Kanti, and he thinks we're very wrong in saying that Kanti is Virya. That's definitely not the case according to his view. And I just didn't feel like going too deeply. I'd rather have, the written words somewhere where I can just show him. So
It
I'll
seems
look at
like,
that.
Ajahn, are you here?
ดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
Sawadee ka, Ajahn.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadee. Ajahn, Azita was just talking about a friend that you will remember from the old days, Chitapala. He was one of the monks in Bangkok, and he was listening to the discussion with Azita the other day, and afterwards he said he thought it was very wrong to say that Kanti is Virya Chetasika. And it was interesting, Azita, because someone actually wrote to me afterwards and also made the same comment, that they thought this was quite wrong, and that Kanti is Adosa, not Virya.
Yes, well, that was what he was saying. How that's so wrong that we're saying that there can be a Gusala Kanti.
That Kanti can be Kusala or Akusala.
Yes, and he just found that really incorrect.
Can it be aloha as well?
A little difficult to hear you, Ajahn. I
Oh,
think you may
actually, can it be aloha as well?
I think it can be Virya, it can be an Aloba and Adosa must be there as well
So
together.
actually, what is it? Try not to have lopa, not to have dosa. Is it not kanti? Different from the moment you'd like to have it, this and that all the time. It takes quite a long way to get rid of all Intl.Dhamma, but it has to begin to know that it's so very difficult. And how can that be gained or reached or attained without from moment to moment of Viriya to reach that stage? And that is meant by Kanti, not just one moment of Viriya. So what Cetasika is it? It has to be one Cetasika, not only Adosa, what about Alopa and other?
But I think what you're saying is that the main Chetasika is Virya, because it takes a lot of Virya to be patient. But Aloba and Adosa, of course, are there with every Kusala moment. So it takes many Chetasikas to support it. Is that
We
correct?
cannot understand each Cetasika directly, but that can be known as that which is now appearing only. And the understanding of that which appears now is not great enough to understand the Vitaka and Vichara or Viriya and so on. See, that's why the first thing to be understood directly is that characteristic which cannot be self or me or mine, because it experiences or it cannot experience only that. So it is thinking really about the difference between Cetasikas, like Vitakka and Manasikara and Samadhi and so on. But even that which is not self, which now experiences an object. So what appears now is that which is the object of the reality which can experience it. That's all, no one. The point is to understand that actually, what about Dhamma? To understand Dhamma, it is not just the word, but it's the understanding of the reality which no one can change. It's there by conditions. That's all, little by little. And Viriya is there, and Khanti is there, because before there can be the direct understanding of what appears now as it is, it takes quite Viriya each moment, and it takes a long time. So that is the meaning of Khanti, not just once and then it's known instantly. Impossible.
And I think that what our friend objected to a lot was when we suggest that there can be akusala kanti as well as kusala kanti. Is that right, Azita? And another friend afterwards also made the same comment. But when one understands that virya can be kusala or akusala, and strong virya, repeated virya can be kusala or akusala, then I think it helps easier to understand why that patience, like patience, follow one's lobha strongly, why it can be akusala too.
John said something, I guess it was last week, about virya, that it's the patience to endure what is conditioned. And I found that really helpful.
Is this moment Viriya as well?
Yes.
Just thinking, is there any Viriya? See, Cetasika
It
is
doesn't
there.
appear, but I know it's there from
Yes,
study.
that is thinking, Viriya is there. No Khanti, right?
Yes, yes.
This is the different gestures, and even Khanti arises with akusala moments because that Khanti is on parami. That's why we have to understand different levels of akusala and kusala. Dana without panya, it cannot be parami. No letting go of anything at all, just the desire to have it, to do it. And that is the second truth, second noble truth. That's why to learn to understand the reality as not self can bring more and more understanding of the difference of what the word is there as different, viriya and khanti and so on. But actually, that cannot be taken, that cannot be known as reality yet. It takes time to develop the idea of no self. This is the point. Why we listen to Viriya, why do we listen to Khanti, and why do we listen to Parami? To understand the characteristic which one is that which now experiences, and that which is there but cannot experience anything. And this is the world, this is life, no matter when it's there, just like that, no one and no self. And this is the point, not just try to find out the word, but what about the actual reality right now, which arises and falls away, unknown all the time. There can be a little understanding about the truth of each one from hearing and considering and understanding what is the first stage to understand reality as not self. Otherwise, it's only thinking about this and that all the time. And what is the answer when it's not there? How can there be the clear understanding of that as it is? In the beginning, the characteristic which is nama, that which experiences, does not show up yet. We just talk about seeing right now, hearing right now, and thinking right now. But what about that characteristic which is no one, does not show up yet? But from hearing again and again and again, it is the moment of wearing away of the idea of self, little by little. So it depends on understanding how much is there to understand that which is now appearing. Not thinking about whether it is Riya or whether it's Khanti there too. See? Just the characteristic which arises and experiences is not known yet, and it's there now. And we think about what arises together with it at the moment of seeing, see. And what about Viriya and Kanti? See, Dana with Panya and Dana without Panya, Dana with Viriya and without Viriya, see. That is in the book. But now, what is there? It's not open up as no one, no thing. The arising, the succession of that, which from moment to moment, and then completely, absolutely, never to arise again. And this will condition a little more understanding of no self and no one until it develops enough to understand directly of a reality at a time, not altogether like now.
And when we talk about patience to endure what is conditioned and read about the manifestation of virya as enduring, we think of kusala patience, but actually there can be akusala patience enduring what is conditioned. It can be patience, lobha, and akusala virya too. So
Yeah. For sure.
In the teachings, patience is a wholesome quality only, isn't it? When it's mentioned in the text, it's always a reference to kusala.
Yes, that's
Of course, what we're saying is that the conventional notion of patience is akusala.
yes.
It's not the wholesome
Right.
mental.
Right. Because we are patient.
Yeah. And we are patiently waiting, going round the bend in the meantime.
Yeah. Exactly.
And what about the Viriya with Viriya, which is Vipaka, and Viriya, which is Kiriya? See, we have to talk all around about just a characteristic to understand it clearly. In order to understand it, it is different. The Viriya which arises Vipaka is Kanti. See, it's the result only. It's conditioned by Dhamma. It just happened to arise by conditions long time ago. It can be last life or more than last life, which condition, which arises with vipaka. See, that's why we have to think all about just a reality one at a time in many aspects in order to understand that that cannot be anyone or anything at all. It is as it is, a Dhamma. And this is the point. Otherwise, we just keep on thinking about Viriya, which is Kusala and Akusala. And what about the Vipaka? And Kiriya?
all those moments, deep sleep, that's not the conventional idea of effort or patience, but virya is there at those moments.
And who is thinking? See, it's still I. Viriya is there, unknown. Until the reality, which is not self, because it experiences when it shows up only. Keep on thinking about the word, but not about that which is now appearing. Even the characteristic which is not self, which now experiences, does not show up yet. So when understand the point of listening, to understand the truth that actually there's no one at all, no thing, only a reality experienced in a moment, from moment to moment, unknown, like seeing, sees now. What about the citta before seeing and after seeing?
Achan, with Kanti, so could we say that Kanti is one of the words for virya?
Many words for virya,
Right.
samapadana, and so on. See?
What was that word?
Samapadana.
Dana.
The
Right.
four samapadana, Dhamma, what cetasikas are there?
Well, I'm not sure.
But one word to understand that as not self, little by little, in different aspects.
I really appreciate, Achan, when we have these questions, and on my part, they're a little bit mixed up. But when you bring it back, you bring it right back to this present moment. And that sort of that is so good, because it kind of clears the air, and I realize I'm mixed up, I'm trying too hard, but it's just this present moment is what is to be known. Otherwise, we're just continue in this sea of samsara.
And that is meant what is it, which is studying Dhamma, because now it is Dhamma. And without studying the characteristic of that which is now appearing, is it study Dhamma? Only the word or the reality, which is Dhamma, appearing, unknown as Dhamma. So study Dhamma means understand that which is now appearing as it is, little by little. For example, seeing is there. Who makes it to arise? No one. It's there by conditions. And it does not last, arises and falls away. Is it not true? Because it seems like there is so many things which you've seen, and there is also sound and hearing and thinking altogether just very quickly. But the truth is that our reality is just that reality. Cannot be just like we think, things or people around at all. And this is the study of Dhamma, to understand this moment as is there, a reality. Study, listening to the truth that no one can make it rise. It's there by conditions, to let go the idea of I see. Because if seeing does not arise, where is the I? But when it's there, no understanding the characteristic which experiences. And so it's just you, not the other, who sees. See, there is the idea of I all the time. That's why we can understand the great virtues of the Buddha's right understanding of Panya, how great it is. Beyond anyone in the world, in the universe.
At the moment, my life is a little bit difficult, and so I will often call on the Dhamma, sort of, look, it's just what is at the moment. It's just a reality. And then I wonder, is it just because there's a lot of unpleasant feeling? If I was feeling really happy and everything's okay, would there be still, thinking of the Dhamma? And so then I think, oh, well, it's just a self trying to pacify myself. So again, a confusion. And that's why I appreciate what you say. You always bring it back to right here and right now.
If nothing arises at all, can there be I or anything?
No.
So what is the absolute truth? That which is conditioned arises and appears now. The truth is that it's there only when there is the reality which experiences it. And shorter than that, even that moment arises and falls away unknowingly until you listen about the truth of it. little by little, to know that actually each moment is not permanent at all. Much more than we can expect or try to understand it. Otherwise, it cannot let go the idea of self permanently. The eradication of that which is taken for something from time to time, the whole life, the whole samsara, before hearing the teachings. So to understand that how much ignorance is this moment is panya, to know the truth. It's just like that, more than we think or can estimate about it, how much is there. So very deeply rooted. So how can anyone just try to pull the root? See, it's so deep, very thick, very firm. Just the understanding, little by little. That which appears is not as it is.
John, I've copied out something that you said recently. Whatever comes or arises is there by conditions, just for a moment and then gone. That is why we can endure everything, pleasant or unpleasant.
Really?
So,
really? Endure or no understanding, just pass on.
that's what I was going to say. Without understanding, that it needs to have understanding in able to endure pleasant or unpleasant.
The word endure.
That's the word that I've got here. But that's
It arises and falls away. Who endures?
well, that's the problem. Until there's
That's the thing.
enough, yeah, it's I who endures, it's we who endure.
Yeah, but actually it's there and then no more. That's all, completely. So who endures? No one at all.
Yes.
We think in terms of I all the time, conditioned by the accumulation of the idea of self.
Mhm.
So at the moment of listening to the words of the Buddha, it can be better if there is no idea of I. Think as before of this or that. Just listen to the new words, the truth of that which is now appearing. And panya is not I, develops on and on, little by little. But what about the clinging to the five khandhas? See, all five, and that is not known, even just one, like Vedana now is not known, Sanya now and Sankhara Khanda, see, Sanya Khanda is not known. Before there can be more and more understanding of different levels to just develop understanding of whatever is so natural in daily life, because all are dhammas, and there is strong understanding taking for self. For how long? Any moment when there's no understanding. It's something all the time. So there can be the beginning of understanding that understanding itself is not I, but it's from hearing and considering. It arises and falls away as well. This is to remember from the very beginning that the point of studying is to understand the truth, the absolute truth of what is now appearing. No one there. Viriya is there. It does not arise with what chitta, see? how many ahetuka citta, which arise with viriya. So just to understand that actually no one can do anything at all. They have to be as they are. Each one is different from the other. So it's only the idea of thinking of self when there's no understanding of a characteristic which is there. And from understanding little by little, it conditioned a little more, letting go the idea of self unknowingly.
Yes, I think a bit like Azita said, when life is difficult or it seems like one is slogging one's way through the mud and it seems there is the enduring of whatever comes, but actually there's no I who can endure, and there is enduring whatever arises, kusala or akusala citas at every moment. So even when they're pleasant objects, actually objects are all dukkha. So it's also traipsing through the mud. I mean, this is life in samsara. Whatever comes is impermanent and unsatisfactory, and the object of clinging instantly. That's why the difficulties come. So what we consider as enduring, or what we can take for being patient, enduring, is actually usually akusala ideas of I who can put up with this difficult situation. But the seeing now falls away instantly, the hearing falls away, each reality that's conditioned falls away anyway. So nothing that anyone can do to endure. But I think the point was that when there's more understanding, there is more acceptance of what is conditioned at this very moment.
That's how I took it. That, you know, without understanding, it's as you described. Now I'm putting up with, I'm dealing with this, or I'm enjoying if it's pleasant. But with great understanding, there's understanding that whatever is pleasant or unpleasant, and I'm not thinking of things and people, I'm thinking of moments, feelings, etc. That with greater understanding, there's understanding that it's gone.
And it's conditioned that way. It can't be any other way. There's no choice involved in it at all. There's no,
that's right.
Cannot be any selection or making pleasant visible objects be seen, because it's conditioned that way, and it's unimportant because it's gone immediately. Yes, that's how I understood it, the comment too.
Yeah.
Also, I think when one does the enduring, you're just adding to the bucket of accumulations of self and dosa and all the accumulations that we would like to get rid of. But the more we want to get rid of it, the more you collect of the heavy duty stuff. Mm-hmm. So I can see why Achan says it's a long, long way, and it's best not to even think about that. It's best to just, I don't know, listen to the Dhamma and allow what happens.
No other way.
And usually it is the thinking that makes it so difficult, because actually we have everything we ever wanted right now, seeing of different objects, hearing of different sounds, reflecting on Dhamma. So the difficulties in life is the thinking and imagining and worrying and not having what one thinks that one wants, even though right now it is just as one wanted.
It's the wanting, the attachment. that's problematic. All the other things too, but without the wanting, without the clinging, without the desire, there can be more acceptance of what is now, what is arising now, because so often we want something else.
I think the point you're making, Sarah, is that we've got what we wanted, in that it's
Right at this moment.
past Dhamma resulting in present vipaka.
Right.
And
But
then,
we're
then
seeing
the
now.
accumulations start and the kilesas start, and like we talked last week, kilesa gamma vipaka, on and on.
And messes it all up. Yes. And even when I hear, like even in the Dhamma discussion, and I hear you're having a difficult time, instantly, I feel sorry, or I have dosa, or I want to comfort you, but even that is not understanding at all. It's just, again, just dosa on account of what is heard, not liking it because one wants one's friends to be happy. But when there's understanding that actually this moment of seeing, just this moment of hearing, just this moment of understanding or not understanding, then one doesn't think like that. But that tendency is always there.
And I also think that is the most comforting thing, to have Dhamma friends show you that there's no self.
That's right. It's much more helpful than having friends giving one's pity or feeling sorry for one, which doesn't help at all.
Yes, yeah.
It's the reminder about this moment, back to now.
Thank you.
And what is there at moment of endure?
It's at the moment of enduring. Well,
Yes,
it's probably
there?
self-agusala.
What kind of akusala?
Well, if it's me trying to endure, then that's agusala.
That's it. Because even at that moment that it's seeing, see, and after 3 moments of seeing, it's there. Asava, Idasava, Bhavasava. See? So it's there all the time. So we can understand the difference between the different level of study Dhamma, intellectual understanding, pariyatti, leads to a little more understanding of what is there to be learned, to understand its truth. Otherwise, no way at all to understand it without the words of truth from the Buddha's enlightenment. See, so listen to the word which talks about the truth of that which is there, one by one, until right understanding is there. After seeing, hearing, and so on, which usually it is a kusala moment, follow the seeing and hearing. This is the way to develop the understanding of how much ignorance and kilesa is there. So it cannot be less when there's no understanding, little by little, to respect to the truth that it's no one and nothing. They are all Dhamma, see. So one can understand how long will it take, not just one life, 100 or 1,000, much more than that, to have the reality which is now arising and falling away just show up little by little, appear well to panya, which begins to understand that what is the truth of it, the characteristic which is just there, very short, but it can be understood to the developed panya by anatta-ness. Everything comes to understand what is meant by anatta, no self and no one. That's why just listen, no expectation how much understanding is there. But when there are conditions enough, no one can stop the arising of the different level of panya. This is the way to let go, that I try, or I will have it. when or what? Impossible. That is not understanding Dhamma as Dhamma. So just the word Dhamma includes everything in life, in the world, all adhamas, until it's true at moment of touching. It's there by conditions to understand what has been heard, show up a little to panya, as no one there at all, no matter its hardness or hurt or sound or whatever is there. Just only a moment and then gone. But panya has to develop and directly experience it stage by stage before it can be completely, absolutely eradicated, no more to arise again in samsara. Otherwise, that what the other way cannot be the right way, cannot be Majjhima Patipada. That's why all the four noble truths are very subtle. Even the path is very subtle because it is the development of panya from moment to moment. All we are talking about must be here and now, unknown until it's known, one by one, little by little, unexpectedly. Can there be direct awareness of hardness now, or sound, or that which experiences at moment of seeing or thinking, and sanya is there, Vedana is there, Sankhara Khanda are there. This moment.
A
So
moment
study.
ago, sorry,
Yes.
a moment ago, Ajahn, you were saying unexpectedly. So, dhammas arise, seeing, hearing, and there can be knowing unexpectedly. Can you explain a little more about that, please?
What would be next moment?
We don't know.
Expect or unexpectedly?
Well, yes, unexpectedly. We expect, in daily life, you expect you're going to do this, going to do that, but what arises in reality is unexpected.
To hear that too, right? Or to think this or that. But who knows what would be the next moment?
We expect this or that, but what actually arises is not what we expect, is unexpectedly. So we think they'll be seeing now, or they'll be thinking about Dhamma, but hearing or thinking about something quite different. So whatever arises is unexpected because it's conditioned, not what I would like or what I think it will be.
It's interesting because we all have expectations, one's far down the road or what one might do or think about for the next little while. And yet there can be no knowing, not at all. And how quickly one can think, oh, I'll consider this a little bit longer, and they're off, something else has arisen, something else comes up. So with no self, no control, it can't possibly.
And that's why without the understanding of dhammas, of realities, the teachings can't be understood at all, because conventionally it seems I can know what I will be doing or I'll be thinking, but at this very moment, you can know what Dhamma will arise next, what thinking there will be at this moment, what seeing, what hearing will experience at this moment possible. So that's why the understanding has to come back to now in order to understand the unexpected, that which is conditioned and anatta.
And I think it's when the unexpected occurs that one thinks more about, oh yeah, we can't know what's going to happen next. Anatta.
And it's every moment is the unexpected at each moment.
Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of anatta-ness at all.
And actually, that is the big relief, that it is the unexpected, nothing to be done, nothing that can be done at all, because the reality is conditioned to be the way it is. There's the coming together of the different ayatanas at each moment, not in anyone's control, so completely useless to try to make it any other way. So it can all be let go of, because it is all the big burden, expectations and the trying or the thinking that I can do anything. Lucas or Tadao or Zhao, do you have anything you would like to add on virya or patience or endurance or expectations or anything?
I have question about sunyata. Is it okay if I ask about sunyata?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Say when there is seeing, there must be rupa aramana and chaku pasada rupa and chaku vinyana. Yeah? And arising of these three elements, we can say that there is seeing. But I'm wondering whether each of these sabhava dhamma can be said to be sunyata, or sunyata only refer to the aggregates or meeting together of these three elements. I'd like to know sort of the precise characteristics of sunyata. That's my question.
Any conditioned reality is sunyata, because it arises by conditions and falls away instantly and then is completely gone. So seeing that arises now as sunyata, gone immediately, and the same for the visible object or the eye sense or any whatever is conditioned. So it means it is anatta. Any conditioned reality is anatta, because it falls away and is gone instantly.
Okay, if rupa aramana is sunyata, yeah? In what sense can we say that it's a sabhava dhamma?
Rupa, the visible object, it has a characteristic. This is what is meant by sabhava. So it's sabhava dhamma that has a characteristic which can appear even right now and then is gone. So sabhava just means it has that characteristic.
Okay, so it's a reality, but it's basically it's sunyata. Nothing in it.
Sunyata, yes. It's anatta, it's sunyata, it's anicca, it's dukkha. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Ajahn may like to add anything more about sunyata.
Not sunyata.
Probably.
See, it's gone.
Mm. But it's hard to see
Certainly.
what sunyata is.
That's why there is the word enlightenment.
Oh.
What does it mean?
One who has understood everything.
Can it be changed?
Pardon?
Can it be changed from being sunyata and anatta?
Yeah, I think so. They are changeable.
Now, can anyone change the truth of it, that everything is not self, anatta, and that which arises falls away, never to return, and that is the meaning of sunyata?
Oh. But most of us do not have such high-level understanding. Our understanding is very weak.
That's why there are different levels of understanding. Pariyati, Patipati, and Pativeda, different levels of vipassana jnana.
Mm. So can we say that if there is high level of panyaya, one may see reality as reality, or reality as anatta, or reality as sunyata?
That's why I begin to understand firmly about each word, the truth of it. Dhamma must be Dhamma, which is no one and no thing at all.
Yeah.
Hatred cannot be metta. See, different things. That is Dhamma, anatta, and it just arises and falls away instantly. Sunyata, never to return at all.
One thing I do not understand is the phrase never to return.
Okay, well, was the saying just a moment ago?
But I do not think about what has gone. I only think about the momentary future.
But without this moment, arising and falling away, can there be future moment?
In fact, nothing is clear. Past, present, future, nothing is clear. It always I who does everything.
But what is I?
Yeah. It's
Seeing is seeing. So what is I? Hearing is hearing. What is I? When is I? No I at all. Seeing cannot be anyone or anything. It cannot be a dog, a cat, or human being. Seeing is only seeing. And the conditions for its arising must be only that, which condition this moment of seeing. Without the eyes, that cannot be seen. Without that which can impinge only on the eye, that cannot be seen. And that is the absolute truth. The Ariya Satya, the first round of Ariya Satya. Pariyati, and then the second one, Patipati, and the third one, the third round, is Pativeda.
Yeah, in theory, we understand all these things. But even
in the absolute truth.
But even at this moment, it's I who does everything.
Is that right or wrong understanding?
What's wrong?
That's what Panya understand what's right and what's wrong. No one there.
Mm. It's nice to have that kind of panya, but it's hard.
That's the appreciating, respecting the Buddha, the enlightenment of the truth, the greatest Panya. See? Otherwise, what's Buddha? What about enlightenment? What about the truth, the absolute truth? And Panya understands not you, not me, not anyone at all. It arises to understand. That's all its function and falls away. Otherwise, they cannot be letting go. The idea of the wrong understanding of self. That's why the word Dhamma and Anatta must be understood clearer and clearer. And the moment of direct awareness is there. Just understand only one characteristic at a time by conditions, all by conditions.
Yeah.
No one can have it at will because actually there's no one at all. No one and nothing.
Yeah.
Or where it is Dhamma arising and falling away by conditions. If it's not clear understanding, there cannot be letting go. There cannot be enlightenment. The truth, which is now hidden for quite a long time.
Yeah, ignorance, I can say that ignorance is deeply rooted. And it's not easy to get rid of the idea of anatta, atta.
Dig it up is not enough. Cut it up, not enough. Burn it until there's nothing left. The idea of wrong understanding.
And Tadao, when you were asking about Sabhawa Dharmas, so many people, especially those who've studied later traditions of the Dharma, they think Sabhawa means has a self. So they think.
Yes.
So I don't know if this is, so they talk about, so if we mention that Dharmas are Sabhawa, they think it means it has some self essence.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about, like you mentioned about rupas, so 18 rupas are Sabhawa Dharmas because it just means they have a characteristic that can be known directly, like hardness. Has a characteristic of a hardness. Patui has a characteristic of hardness, so that is Sabhawa Rupa. But there are 10 rupas that are Asabhawa. For example, the 4 stages of Rupa or the 3 Vikara Rupas, because they are aspects of other Rupas. Or Akaza space is Asabhava Rupa because it depends on the groups of rupas which it separates. So it's not easily apparent. The 2 Vinyati rupas are Asabhava rupas too. So it just refers to the characteristic of rupa which appears when it is Sabhawa Rupa.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing to do with self or essence of anything.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, can I ask a stupid question? That is, yeah, among 5 sense doors, are there doorways which are easier to comprehend and doorways which are harder to comprehend? For instance, I somehow intuitively think that body door, uh, po- uh, body door is easier to comprehend than Chuck eye door ways. Is this a wrong sort of a way of thinking? Or it all depends on individuals?
I think there are two aspects. What appears now depends on accumulations.
Yeah.
So maybe that there are more accumulations for understanding hardness now than visible object.
Mm.
But when there's the idea of what is easier or there is any expectation, or then of course it's the wrong path again.
Yeah.
So I think what's important is just what appears now. No need to think about what's easier, like maybe hardness seems more apparent today. Who knows about next moment? So
Mm.
always the unexpected. But
Okay.
each moment and each understanding depends on accumulations as to what appears,
Okay.
but without any expectation at all.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Chadao, what
Yes.
is the doorway? What is meant by doorway?
Like eye doorway and body doorway.
What is it?
When I think about, for instance, eye doorway, I think about witty, like 17 moment of chitta and cetasika.
That's why we do not understand each reality as
Oh,
it is. For example, is a doorway a reality?
when we examine each chitta,
Oh, no, not when we, but you use the word doorway. Is it real, a reality, or what is it?
simply saying it's a moment of seeing.
Seeing is a reality which experiences different from moment when while one is sleeping, right?
Mm.
So is there any doorway at moment of sleeping?
I somehow think sort of
That's why we cannot think of reality at all. We have to learn and listen and study it carefully, wisely, to understand the reality of the truth of that word, which conveys reality, the truth of reality. So we are talking about the truth of realities, and realities mean that which is real.
Mm.
So when we talk about any word, what is the truth of it? Is it real, or it is only just the word Pandati, Paramada, Dhamma, and Pandati? See, it doesn't mean that just read and think, but it means study each word about the truth of it, because it has to be a reality. And it's true, like doorway. What is that? See, we are studying Dhamma, the reality, the truth of life, of each moment. So what is meant by doorway?
To me, it's a series of
No, not this. Just the doorway. Is it real? Is it a reality? Or what is it? Otherwise, there's no understanding of the word which is used.
You're using doorway in a very loose way.
Yeah, exactly.
Not talking, just talking about realities which are experienced through a particular doorway. But in Pali, the doorway, the dwara, is very precise and has to refer to a particular reality, not a series. So, for example, if we talk about eye door, what is eye door? That is Ajahn's question. What is the reality?
My understanding is not clear, but eye door may refer to one of the chittas. It could be Chaku Vinyana.
Chaku Vijnana is not a doorway, it's the seeing consciousness which experiences the visible object through a doorway or via a doorway. So the doorway for seeing to see visible object is the eye sense. Eye sense is the doorway for seeing to experience visible object. So it's a rupa, not a series, just one rupa, eye sense. So when you talk about understanding one doorway better than another, it's not precise enough because doorway is just the eye sense at that moment.
Okay. So I'm using the term doorway very loosely, but I'm using it as a process.
It's the wrong use. That's Ajahn's point, because eye door isn't a process. It's the eye sense, which is the means by which seeing and the other chittas in that process experience visible object.
Okay, then how do you call the whole process which concerns with perceiving a visual object? Because including three bhavanga up until registration, there are 7 chittas. How do you call that whole process?
So we can talk about the process of chittas which experience the visible object through the eye door.
So is it any Pali term for the whole process?
Actually, sometimes they refer to the eye door process, the process of chittas which experience the visible object through eye sense. But the doorway itself is just the eye sense.
So here I'm saying about the eye door process.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, some processes, some doorway process is easier to comprehend than other doorway processes.
Our dhammas are mixed up, right? It's one reality at a time. That's why it's not clear understanding. That's why just one word, it takes time to consider the truth by different aspects. Okay, is there any doorway at moment when one is fast asleep?
Mind door.
Is it citta?
Citta and cetasika.
Does it experience anything which appears like now?
When it's not in deep sleep, then there must be thinking. And thinking.
Okay. So we just talk about the moment of deep sleep. Is there any citta?
Yes.
Is it you?
No.
So what is it?
Technically,
That's
it,
citta.
technically it's called non-REM sleep. And we do not perceive anything and we do not think anything. It's a very, very
Yeah.
deep sleep.
But what kind of citta is there? Is it seeing?
No, it's Bhavanga Chitta.
So what is the meaning? What is Bhavanga citta?
It's a Vimutti Chitta.
Okay. What do you mean by Viti Mutta citta?
No information, no rupas coming from so-called outside.
Long story, but the truth is that there must be the reality which experiences an object even while one is fast asleep, right? Citta and cetasika is conditioned, are conditioned by one karma, the same karma as that which conditioned birth consciousness, right?
Yes,
Experience the same object or different object.
the same from the previous life.
Does it appear as that which is seen, heard, and so on in life now?
No.
That's why we can understand the different moment being asleep and when one wakes up different, because there are that which appears through a doorway
Yeah.
that it can experience. Seeing right now, what is there as condition for seeing? What is that?
So there must be aramana and chakpasada rupa.
So Chakupasata Rupa is the aramana
No.
doorway, or what is the doorway at that moment?
Chakpasada rupa.
See, that's why one has to understand clearly that what is meant by doorway. Without the Chakupasada Rupa, can there be seeing?
No.
That's why at the moment of seeing, it needs Chakupasada as the doorway to experience that which impinges on the Chakupasada. Without Chakupasada, can there be seeing?
No.
That person is blind, right?
Yeah.
No condition for seeing.
No.
So, what condition Chakupasada Rupa?
Come.
That's why that rupa is conditioned by karma, depends on karma to have it arise or no, do not arise at all, because no Chakupasada arise by akama. See? So we have to understand the way which Chitta experience the object which appears now through eyes or ears or nose or tongue or body or mind. Thinking doesn't need eyes, ears at all, right? So the previous Bhavanga before the Viticita is the doorway for the mind process.
Yeah.
No one there. No one there. There is a hearing about the doorway. One has the understanding. See, it's not I, because it is the rupa which conditions seeing. That's all. At the moment of sleeping, fast asleep, is Chakupasada the doorway?
No.
Sotapasada?
No.
And mind? Minder, is it that moment doorway?
Probably not, because it's Bhavanga Chitta, a series of Bhavanga Chitta.
Because no object appears at all.
Yeah.
Because the object is the object which arises before death of last life. See? That's why the Bhavanga Chitta, Patisanti Chitta, and Chutti Chitta are Vithi Mutta Chitta.
Yeah.
But it cannot be Vithi Chitta, which experiences that which appears now.
Yeah.
through one of the six doorways.
Yes.
So how many doorways are there in life, each life? How many doorways are there?
Seems to be 6.
Only 6, see.
Mm.
And is Pancha Dvara Vachana Chitta,
Yes.
the Vijitya.
Yeah, it's Vikichitta.
What is its doorway?
So it's Pasada Rupas.
Only 5 or 6?
Pasada Rupa, it seems to be just 5.
That's the understanding of each moment that it depends on conditions. Seeing depends on Chakupasata, but at the moment of hearing, it does not depend on Chakupasata, right? At moment of hearing, is Chakupasata the way?
No.
See, and this is life, see, the understanding more precise about each moment of its proper conditions to arise. That's all. This is life from moment to moment. Anatta and sunyata, when it's fallen away, completely, absolutely, never to return. And when you say that hardness, or what you say about it can be understood easier, say it again, please.
Yeah, I feel that things which appear through the body or body doorway processes seems to be easier to comprehend a visual object which appear through the eye sense. And I'm wondering that some of the senses are easier to comprehend than the other or not. That's my original question.
Okay. Can anyone experience the eye sense, ear sense, and body sense?
No, it's not easy.
Is it easier?
No, I'm talking about actual aramanas, object.
When there is touching, hardness appear, like whisper object is appearing now. What is easier to know or the same?
But even for ordinary people, yeah, they may even say that they understand what hardness and what softness and heat and cold. But if they hear that, they should be aware of visual object here. They may have no understanding or no comprehension. So
Seems like that because what is experienced through the body sense is the Mahaputarupa, one of the Mahaputarupa. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mahaputarupa can be experienced only through the body sense.
Yes.
But the truth of it as no one and nothing, is it easy or is the same as seeing which visible object is now appearing, like the hardness appears?
I can say it's easier. Body says it's easier than I say.
It's easier because it's not the Mahaputarupa or what. That's why we can know how we have such understanding, because the nature of that which is experienced is Mahaputarupa. See? But that through the other doorway is not Mahaputarupa. It cannot condition pain or anything at all.
Yes.
So as much as one knows it's hardness, everyone knows it hard, as everyone knows that it is seen, it is sound. One can say sound and one can say hardness. But the truth of this is it easier. That's why it conditioned the wrong view that having the sati on this way because it's easier. That's wrong. That is selection. That is not the understanding. The absolute truth of it's not anything, no matter what. It's just as it is. Visible object is not like the Mahaputarupa, so it appears as that which can be seen. And the same thing, when there's no one at all, what is experienced is exactly the same, right? And that which experiences is only the reality which arises and experiences the same. Kaya Vijnana and the Vijnana. The object is different, but the characteristic which experiences must be the same. What is easier, see?
So you are saying that one shouldn't have such an idea as something easier than the other. 5 doorways, 5 doors are 5 doors.
That's why it takes time to consider wisely to letting go. Otherwise, I take it for this is theater.
Oh yeah, I do have such idea because when I'm going to sleep, I close my eyes and I use earplugs, and only the sensation sense I have is through the body. And I contemplate on this hardness and softness. So you are saying that it's a totally wrong idea.
Of self, I.
Yeah.
More understanding, it understands deeper.
Yeah.
I think because at that moment of thinking, it's not I, has to be known as well. It's there from life to life, samsara, on and on.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of wrong practice because it's I focusing on sensations or the hardness or the softness. So it seems that it's more apparent, but actually it's I trying, I contemplating, I focusing.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's why some people think that they have awareness of sensations or awareness of particular rupas, but it's something, it's not natural development of understanding and awareness. So sometimes when people say this doorway experience is easier than another one, actually nothing is appearing as just Dhamma because it's I trying to focus on it.
Yeah, but I think there must be individual differences. For instance, for me, the ear door process is the hardest doorway door because I do not think I will ever sort of have any idea of nama and rupa through the ear door processes. It's almost impossible. It's much easier to comprehend the eye-door process.
But I think the point that it is the same in that what is heard now is just that which is heard, just sound, not a matter of trying to focus or contemplate, but it is just sound heard, just like what is seen is just that which is seen, and what is touched is just the rupa which is touched.
Yeah.
The point is, it is just a rupa, different kind of rupa that is experienced, not anything that I can contemplate or focus on or understand.
No. I can see
that's
that.
why the understanding has to develop with detachment from the beginning. The opposite of I can try and contemplate or try to catch it.
No. It's not
that is the hindrance to understanding the sound that appears now or visible object. The idea that I should contemplate or be aware of it. That's the obstacle, the main obstacle.
I can see that point, but what I'd like to say is that are there not individual differences in understanding one of these 5 senses? Some are good at understanding the ear doorway process, and the others are good at understanding the body doorway process. Are there not such tendencies?
I think there's a trap when we start to think like that, because usually, like when someone says, like you said before, what appears through the body door is more apparent, but then it turns out that this is what you're contemplating or trying to be aware of, or something like that. So it's not actually hardness that's appearing as just the hardness.
No. It's not contemplating. It's sort of a wise thinking. Because
What is the purpose? What's the purpose of it?
Before
What's
going,
the purpose of lying before you're going to sleep, focusing on
before going to sleep, what do you think? Nothing to think about. At least one can think. There are no arms, there are no legs.
But is there in that contemplation, is it trying to be aware, trying to understand, trying to focus on that hardness or softness? That's the question.
Yeah, it's not the focusing. It's just a natural tendency of thinking so-called realities.
But that particular one, thinking about that hardness or softness.
Because there is no seeing, hearing, tasting, and smelling. But body sensations are there.
There's a lot of thinking at that time. So that's another reality.
Mm.
And during the day, there's a lot of seeing and visible object.
Yeah.
And hearing and sound.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that because there's more of a particular kind of experiencing through one particular doorway that it's going to be easier to understand, for understanding to arise and take that as an object. I think we need to distinguish between thinking about what is happening through a doorway, which is just ordinary thinking, which anyone can do, and the understanding or awareness and understanding of realities as they arise, or of a reality that is appearing.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah, they're different. So what you're describing is thinking about what's happening through a particular doorway.
Mm.
And we can't really say it's necessarily kusala. Yeah, because it's not something that is, it's not a moment of awareness of a reality.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the difference. And it's not the same as the thinking about realities, for example, that might be conditioned by discussing Dhamma and hearing something about realities that we hadn't understood before and is now a bit clearer for us. So I think it's, as Sarah said, there's a danger that it will lapse into some kind of practice that one does routinely.
No.
Yeah, my experience of
it's a conditioned reality, conditioned. Sometimes.
Yes, but once it becomes a bit regular, then of course you anticipate that it will happen again and again. So I think it's easy to see that it doesn't become something that's natural. It may have been natural occasionally for that to happen, but it couldn't be natural for it to happen on a regular basis.
No. I can understand that realities cannot understand in such type of thinking. I do understand.
the clinging is there, unknown, unseen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So we can't say one should or shouldn't do it. It's
Yeah.
something that happens,
Yeah.
but the question is whether it's kusala or akusala or whether there's any wrong involved and that kind of thing. So, and it's not the same as awareness of a reality. So one has to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Just getting back to the talk about processes, some moments of consciousness arise in a process. And I think what that means is they're part of a fixed order of different moments of consciousness. Like in the sense door process, there's the inverting consciousness and the actual experiencing of the object, and then the receiving and investigating and so forth. There's an followed by kusala or akusala jittas in the javana process, and then the tadaramana. So there are sense door processes and there's mind door process. And then there are jittas that arise not in a process. And these are what are referred to when you mentioned viti vimutti.
Yeah.
Vanga chitta is viti vimutti, process freed.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't arise in a process.
Yeah.
And the doorways are associated with the processes, but not with jittas that don't arise in a process.
Okay, Jonathan, can I ask you a technical question?
Sure.
Are the sense doorways, yeah, prior to Dvipancha Vinyana, yeah, there are 3 bhavanga chittas, but at the mind door, only 2 bhavanga chitta take place. Why there is such a difference in the number of bhavanga chittas to take place between sense doors and doorways and the mind door?
Too technical for me, I'm afraid.
It's what sometimes what I wonder. Why there
I
are
think at least for the mind, or it can be more. It doesn't say only 2. At least.
oh really?
At least 2, can be more.
Oh really? Oh, I thought it's just 2. Yeah, there should be more than 2. Yeah.
And on the other question, I think that even when one's heard the Dhamma a lot, there can be subtle kinds of wrong practice coming in at different times. Like you think when you're going to sleep, you're just relaxing and these rupas are more apparent, but the trap is the clinging with subtle wrong practice, wishing to be aware, trying to be aware. It can come in any time. Like if one's talking about visible object, there can be moments of subtle wrong practice, trying to catch it, trying to be aware, or trying to understand sound. So as Ajahn keeps mentioning, the Ditthasava, it can be so very subtle, but this is not even so subtle like that. But it's a trap, it comes in any time.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand that there are no arms and no legs on my bed before going to sleep.
Okay, so there can be moments of wise reflection and moments of wrong practice, trying to experience it. Yeah.
Does it mean no arms, no legs?
You're asking.
Mhm.
May I have a question? Can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Yes. So we know that in the text, it mentions about 10 kusala kamapata and 10 kusala kamapata. And in the 10 kusala kamapata, it mentions the 7 body restraint and body and speaking in speech, like retrain from killing and so on. And then the 3 mano kama as non-greed, non-hatred, and right view. So my question is, we know that there are other good deeds that can become kamapata as well, like generosity or making sharing merits with others, and so on. So where are these included in those 10 kamapata, or is actually not in there? I don't know if my question is clear.
Ajahn, did you hear Tom's question? Maybe Ajahn not here at the moment.
Excuse me, I just turned out. Now, is it on?
Tom was just asking about the 10 kusala and akusala kamapata that are often listed, and under the 10 kusala kamapata, where it has the 3 bodily virity and the 3 bachi virity, and then the mano karma, but she is saying it doesn't mention, for example, acts of giving.
Because you see that when kusala citta arises, does one just keep still, sit still, or what? The punya kriya vatu, the manners, the way it behaves with kusala citta, by way of dana, by way of sila, and by way of bhavana. That's why we have to understand this and that, coming together to understand the whole teaching about daily life, about no one, only citta and cetasikas. At this moment of understanding, there is talking, see, discussing to understand the truth, not just keep silent or sit still. At that moment, when there's nothing done through the body and speech, and to understand whether that moment is kusala or akusala, we have to know by whether there is payapati or lopa, see, or wrong understanding or right understanding. But the manners, the way it behaves from kusala is giving or sila and all, as the 10 punya kriya vatu. Is it agreeable? Or if they are apart?
Can you say again, Ajahn?
Yes, at moment of having no akusala, and there is kusala moment, does one sit still, not doing anything, not give, not help?
Yeah, it depends on the moments, but when there can be act of giving by the body.
That's why Buddha thought about everything in life at that moment of kusala citta. What does it do? Helping the others to understand the words, the truth, is that the way of kusala citta? When there is right understanding, the mind of Dhamma.
For example, Tam, when it mentions the mano-karma, for example, the goodwill or the metta, it's not just having a kind thought, but helping the others or attending to someone's need. So it conditions the giving or the act of kindness in order that it's kamapata at that time, not just having a moment of kind thought. It conditions speech and deed.
So
It's included.
So then, what is the real difference between mano karma and body karma, for example?
Okay, when you just see something and suddenly kill, like mosquito or ant, is it manokamma or it is kayakamma?
It's kaya karma under the 10.
See, that is the understanding, the difference between vajikamma, kayakamma, and manokamma.
But if you don't just suddenly kill, but you're thinking about it, you're thinking that when you leave the discussion, you'll go and you'll put out a trap for cockroaches or something, then it is mano-karma, even though it is conducted through the body, the actual act.
Mm-hmm. So it's ill will, right? It's the ill will, because there are 3 manokarma: greed and ill will and wrong view. So that would fall under the ill will, right?
It is the ill will, the dosa, kamapata with dosa, which is mano-karma, even though it is carried out through the body door experiences.
So then it's mano-karma through body door.
And even when it's wrong view, in order to be kamapata, it's not just like having a moment of focusing on the sensations, but when it's mano-karma because of the wrong view, but when it conditions certain speech or deeds conditioned by that wrong view, like when one teaches wrongly to other people, for example, conditioned by wrong view, it's mano-karma, even though speech is through speech door.
So one instance for greed, it's mano-karma, would be like planning to take.
That doesn't belong to one, yes. Okay. Planning how to rob a bank. So there may be a lot of planning, and then there is the deed. But because of all that planning and deliberation, it is mano-karma, even though there is the physical taking, or there may be the planning, and then one gives the instructions to others to go and rob the bank. So one may not even go near the bank, but it's still mano-karma because there's the planning and the intention to rob the bank, and the action takes place.
Okay. So in that case, when one tells someone to go to rob the bank, it's not stealing, but it's not body.
It is stealing, even though one isn't oneself doing the physical act.
But I'm just confused a little bit between the stealing in the body karma pata and the mano Kamapata?
If one is in the supermarket and no intention to steal before one goes in, but one just sees something very one desirable, one sees a piece of jewelry and one just puts out one's hand and takes it, then it is karma through the body door, not mano karma, kaya karma.
Okay, I see. So when it involves more planning
A lot
and
of deliberation and planning, yes.
okay,
Or it may just be an indication to someone. The wife knows the husband means for her to take the piece of jewelry. It's just maybe just a look or a request, even though nothing is said.
I see. Okay, that makes sense now.
And as far as I know, there's no significance between whether it falls under one type or the other kind of karma.
Mm-hmm.
It just the fact that all kinds of agusala, if strong enough, can become a pata.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it doesn't really have to be analyzed to find out which form of karma it falls under, whether body or mind, speech.
Okay. So another thing is, I read in one book when it talks about the Vachi Kamapata, lying, for example. And in that book, the author says that not just one instance of lying would amount in Kamapata, but if only the lying is done repeatedly in one's life, then it will become Kamapata. So what is your comment on that?
When we read, for example, in the Atasalani, it has all details about the different, when it's mano karma through the body door or vachi karma through speech door and so on. But lying, it talks about the conditions. There has to be the intention to lie. There has to be the one who is deceived. There has to be the actual lying. I don't think it talks about how many times or whether it has to be more than once. So I don't know about that. But it's not just the thought of lying. There has to be the actual lying, and there has to be the one who is deceived. So there have to be the different factors. And then it can be just a support, not full kamapata. For example, if just there is the intention and they're lying, but no one is deceived, so it's not kamapata, but it can support kamapata. So maybe no one is deceived at that time, but another time they are. But that accumulated tendency supports the kamapata later.
I've not heard it said what you've just mentioned. That author wrote.
Yeah.
Not come across that before.
Okay,
Anyway.
so I really don't know where it comes from because that the monk who wrote that book, he usually based on scriptures, but I don't know about that detail, whether it comes from somewhere or it's his own thinking. I have no idea. Okay, I think that clear up a lot about Kamapata. Thank you.
I have a question regarding that Kamapata through speech. If you're joking and you're telling little stories, I just thought about it because I tend to joke a lot, and I just realized it's probably a lot of agusala kamapata because I am deceiving people just temporarily. I don't mean it maliciously, but I guess I am meaning to do it to deceive in a joking way. So it's no different, is there?
Is there any intention to harm them, or they know it's just a joke, a bit like an actor on the stage? It's not the intention to harm the others and cause trouble.
Right. Oh, that's a relief. However, it's a habit I'd probably like to break, because it is a gusala. I mean, it's just, what's the point of it, really? Thank you.
Most of our speech is akusala. It's just common, ordinary, having fun, enjoying the food, talking about this and that. But it's just ordinary loba, but it's not the intention to harm or cause trouble to the others. Sorry, Sundara.
I was just going to say there, just a comment to Kuntam there are those 4 factors which you alluded to, or you alluded to factors. There is the lie, you know it's a lie, there's the utterance of the lie, and the other person believes it. Then it becomes kamapata. Now, just one lie, that is kamapata, and it can condition rebirth in the lower world. And just to that point that Kuntam was making, is that he was alluding to that author who said it's not just one, you have to do it many times. Well, you could say that about killing also. It's not just one killing that really is kamapata, but we know it's one killing is one killing, and it's the intention to harm, intention to take life, and there will be consequences incumbent upon that. So we can't say that you have to do it just many times. It just doesn't make any sense in terms of Dhamma.
Okay.
I'd agree with that, Sundara. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sundara.
I didn't really get what Sundara was saying. Could you repeat it again?
Okay. I'll make a further point there too, because I heard Kuntam say that sharing of merit's not included in the kusala kamapata, because there is such things as patidana and patinamodana. They are included in those punyakiriyawatu. Okay, that point that I was just making, like with killing, there have to be 5 factors. With lying, and well, just to go over the case of killing, there is a living creature, you know it's a living creature, you have intention to harm that living creature, which is the most important. Chaitanya is always the most important thing. It's very well known in Sri Lanka. Everybody says it, the Buddha made that famous utterance, Chaitanya ham bhikkhave kamam vadami. I say that Chaitanya is, having the intention to harm, that is kamma in itself. So there's those 5 factors. There is you have intention, excuse me, I'm getting a bit confused again. There is a living creature, you know it's a living creature, you have intention to harm that living creature, you make an effort to do so and the creature dies. Now with lying, there are 4 factors. There is a lie, you know it's a lie, there's the utterance of that lie, and then the person is deceived. They're the 4 factors that become kamapata, just once. It's not just, once is kamapata, not many times until it becomes kamapata. Otherwise, we could say that with killing also, you have to kill many times before it's kamapata. That doesn't add up. That doesn't make any sense. Killing is killing is killing, and just once, the intention to harm and the taking of that life with intentionally doing so is kamapata, and will bring about results at the appropriate time, or may not eventually, but that's another subject. So is that, I don't know if that answers the question there, Roti. I'm not sure if that does or not.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
That's all right. No problem.
What is not clear is the example that Sarah gave about going to the supermarket and suddenly having the intention to steal something.
Well, I think
let's
perhaps Sarah can.
Okay.
Sure.
And Sarah said that that's only bodily kamapata, but I think there has to be in order to steal something, you have to have the intention, the mental part before grabbing the thing and stealing.
Well, there'll always be the intention. I mean, I think what I understood Sarah to be saying, it seemed to make sense to me at the time, was that you can have those wachi winyati or kaya winyati, and like somebody might just nod at you to steal something, and they're giving you the indication by way of body, or somebody may say something. That's the same with killing or stealing or anything. There can be different modes of committing of these deeds, but it depends on different variables. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a kusala intention to steal or to kill or to break two of the other precepts, for example, or perhaps other ones too, if you want to look at it that way, look at them in different degrees. So perhaps I should let Shira explain to you there what she meant by that.
It was really related to Tam's question about kaya karma, vachi karma, and mano karma. And Ajahn also was making the comment that sometimes there's always the intention to steal, but sometimes it may be classified as mano karma and sometimes as kaya karma. If there's a lot of deliberation and planning, it's classified as mano karma, even though the act is through the body door. Whereas if it's just an impulsive taking or stealing in the text, it's classified as kaya karma. So in both cases, there is the intention, but one is like an impulsive, on the spur of the moment act, and then it's classified as kaya karma. But you're right, there's always the intention. And the same with killing. So there may, in some cases, be just an impulsive stamping on a cockroach. So this is classified as kaya karma through the body door. But if there's a lot of deliberate planning and laying of traps to catch the insects or animals, then it's mano karma, even though it's through the body door. So more intention, strong, more premeditated intention. So it's just describing different ways that different realities are classified or referred to in the text, because otherwise, like Tam said, it might be confusing. It might be what is meant by mind, or does it mean that no action takes happen? But it's not just thinking about killing. There have to be all those factors Tundra mentioned. So it has to be through the body door or the speech door.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm missing something there, because the explanation, the classification seems not to have much sense, because I would classify the quick intention to steal something, I would classify that as mano karma. And then the actual taking of the thing, I will classify that as bodily karma.
But in the text, they classified either as, in that case, as mano karma through the body door or kaya karma through the body door. So they make a distinction. So it's just different ways of referring to different realities and sharing merit, for example. So kusala citas, but it's not just thinking of kusala cita, but there is the act of giving others the opportunity to share or benefit from the kusala. So it can be through the body door or through the speech door, depends.
Just if we think also in terms of what the Buddha said about kamma, when he said that famous phrase, Chaitanaham bhikkhave kammam vadami, I declare kamma to be intention. So everything will always revolve primarily around your intention. And sometimes, as in the case, I understand when some of the bhikkhus weren't sure about some of the deeds that they did, which may have constituted parajika, for example, or sanghadisesa, two very serious offences if you're a bhikkhu. Sometimes they were very unsure themselves and they had to go and speak to the Buddha, who then was able to clarify it for them. So it's not always totally clear what our intention may be at the time.
And if one looks for the fine line or the grey line, trying to work out is it Kamapat or not, then one goes wrong again, because it's just more clinging to oneself and wanting to work out the details instead of just understanding what appears now again.
In my case, it's really like trying to find somehow some what's the point of doing certain, classifying it in a certain way or in another. And as I said, I still don't find what's the sense or the meaning of classifying it in that way. But
I think the point is that they're just different dhammas, that it just shows that, like, for example, giving now or killing, they're just different kinds and different in different scenarios, but either way, they're just different dhammas, not anything committed by any person at all, just different degrees of kusala, different degrees of akusala, manifesting in different ways, that's all.
yeah, again,
And
I think that the thing about the person or not the person, that's not really what I kind of don't understand, right? But anyway.
Like, for example, with killing, some people might think that only the one who actually lays the trap or actually slaughters the animals killing, but what about the one who is planning and deliberating and setting up the course of treatment, the course of action, and giving the instructions to others? So everything is covered by the Buddha.
and I think that also remind.
Because it's the part about a lot of deliberation or just a little bit of deliberation. I mean, how can you going to come out how much deliberation there is in order to be met? So that's just a part which is not kind of very clear. That's
I think it's about time up, so maybe we can continue anything with next time.
Yeah, thank you.
You.
Sawadee-ka, Jan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. What about if Buddha was alive? Would you like to go and ask him about this? Swadika.
Swadee
Oh,
ka.